When thinking about Scarlet Spider premiering in Marvel Snap, you're probably thinking of a deck style maybe similar to this. But are you thinking of this? Scarlet Spider is a 4-cost 5-power card with another activate ability of add an exact clone of this to another location. Now, I'll be blatantly honest, right here in the very front of the video. This was my lowest projected rated card of the month, going into the month. And post Symbiote Spider-Man, I'm still feeling the same way. That doesn't mean, though, that the card isn't going to show some potential. Let me explain why. The thing is, with these 4-cost activate cards, you have a very narrow window to be able to utilize them. They're less flexible, therefore, it has to be a dedicated 4-drop or 5-drop only on those 2 turns. And you're not looking to ramp this out necessarily, because the way that you truly capitalize on this being a 4/10 plus is by getting extra effects onto it. You want to try to get a little bit of extra power, whether it be a Shuri, a Hulkbuster, Aranya, Gwenpool, things of that nature, to maximize those 2 locations. Now, where the clone is going to spawn is completely random, which is a good and a bad thing at the same time, as we know RNG loves us and hates us. But if you can get this anything higher than 4/5, I think then it's a pretty good drop. Otherwise, you may be looking at your alternate play lines. Let's take a look at a couple of ways that we can use Scarlet Spider, as well as maximize what the clone does too. All right, just for funsies. You can't not, because you're going to get 2 5-power cards out of Scarlet Spider. So maybe there's a chance that Cerebro 5 does something. I can't justify myself to still play Martyr, but who knows? Could be fun. And that's all I'm going to really say about this. Versus the latter of something like Patriotic Spiders. A lot of these decks want as many clones or tokens or things onto the field. It could be demons, it could be sinister clones, it could be broodlings, it could be a number of different things. And now we have another one to add to the party in the Scarlet Spider clone. So a Patriot build just seems like an organic piece to it. But what if we could take that even further? So I've pushed it one step further by building another synergy line under Ravonna Renslayer, by putting in the ability to drop down the cost of Mystique, Patriot, Iron Man, and Arnim Zola. I think we have a lot of extra power that we can put out there, because the play line, and kudos to Super Tech God for presenting this idea to me, was dropping down on turn 4 your Scarlet Spider, but you have Ravonna down, so you can go ahead and then Arnim Zola it on turn 5, and then those 2 non-activated Scarlet Spiders, you can activate both of them on turn 6, plus whatever you're going to do. So there's a couple of things we can do by maximizing the amount of clones and getting the reinforcement, because Mystique has several targets that she can buff up onto. Whether it's the double Patriot line or even getting a Dazzler line, it could still work. I think something like this could be a lot of fun, and it's just a different take on Patriot. The next party line that I went down was trying to figure out how to buff afterwards. And yes, you could play down cards like Ironheart, but I don't think you're going to get enough value out of it. So I kind of settled on Namora being the primary way to take this and buff it after. Sure, you've got the alternate line with Hulkbuster to get a little bit less power, but it's taking that Namora style deck and just reinforcing it with now putting out a delayed Scarlet Spider. A lot of those buffs need to go onto other cards too, so that way we can have some extra power later on via the Gwenpool, who is your alternate line if you end up not getting your perfect Scarlet Spider line, even if you don't get the White Tiger line. Honestly, Namor decks have been a personal struggle for me, but I can see the potential within it. I've been looking at several different builds, and I think this might be Echo's time to shine. I think that defensive 1-drop to make sure that that Wong lane cannot be Cosmo'd, who we're starting to finally see a rise of in the game. I think that she's going to be a necessary piece to get that double Wong synergy to work the way that you might want it to. And sure, you've got your Jeff line, you've got your Nocturne line, you've got every other major line built within this. Scarlet Spider is integrated with Psylocke to help make sure we can get a couple of 4-drops out each game. If you don't, that's fine. You still then have the White Tiger Odin line you can go down as well. And since we had proven success with the Overflooded deck, now that we have a couple more cards, I revisited it, and I've kind of settled on removing Ultron from that build and putting in the Infinite for the one big super power slam if you need it on turn 6, just one mega lane. You still have the ability to move in and out via the Madam Web. And you could even build a necessary mini move package in here, throw in a dagger, throw in a vulture, because even if they move once and you get a 2/6 or a 3/9 out of the value of those cards, that's still really incredibly good stats. Scarlet Spider is in here specifically to give you that extra piece that you can work with in case if you don't get the perfect War Machine line. Now you've got some extra pieces onto the board. You're spreading the power wide via Dr. Doom. And Aranya now also is going to be activated into this deck because it gives us one more way to move into the Ebony Maw lane and one more way to move into a Storm lane if you're not doing the full Legion synergy as well. I like taking out a couple of the pieces from the prior build to give Scarlet Spider a little bit of room to shine by adding late power to the board, which is essentially the strength of the deck and the main idea of it. Close it off, add the late power, it's yours. Scarlet Spider fits very well in that. But nevertheless, no matter how you look at it, it's still a 4/10. Sure, it's spread over a couple of lanes. And my reservation comes on that from the same mentality as to why Mr. Fantastic is not played too much anymore. He's a 3/6, but it's spread over 3 lanes, and 3/6 is very good stats, so why don't we play him more? That's my reservation with Scarlet Spider. But on the argument that it is very good stats at 4/10 that you can easily drop in, even if you don't buff it, let's go down another pipeline. Let's go down the line of throw a boatload of stats onto the board. You've got Bob, you've got White Widow, you've got Cassandra Nova, you got Sage, you got Copycat, you got a lot of the big power players that allow you to then either go down the line of Scarlet Spider or Symbiote Spider-Man to reactivate that Cassandra Nova or reactivate the White Widow even, or Sage. Maybe get an extra move out of Bob because who knows, you've snapped and you want to control this, the board again. I don't know. There's a couple of ways you could go about it and having that power move around. But the key to this deck, in my opinion, is actually leader. The idea that you can do a power slam, set up 2 lanes to take the lead, and then secure it via leader sounds incredibly promising in a points meta. So that's how I've spun the deck. Should you get Scarlet Spider? Wait. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough power to justify its position as a 4/5. I could see this card being reapproached in different ways. I like the idea that the activate ability is something that you can put out on turn 6, but it's a little clunky. It's a turn 4 card that you have to activate on either 5 or 6. And we saw with Symbiote Spider-Man, which ended up being kind of a mid card based on that playability. I expect the same thing from Symbiote Spider-Man. Now, sure, there's going to be those insane, amazing moments you see happen. You're going to see the forge into Scarlet Spider, into Hulkbuster, into Zola, into get a whole boatload into Shuri. I didn't even include Shuri on here because I felt that it was too clunky for that amount of power. 8 mana for the 20 power. I could do that a variety of other ways and more effectively with more control. So I left off the Shuri synergies, but I'm sitting in the position here of I'm going to get the card because I like to keep a full collection. But how far I dive into the card, I'm not sold yet. And before its release, I don't feel comfortable telling to you that this is a 911 must get. This was my lowest ranked, and it still is my lowest ranked of the month. I would be happy to be proven wrong, especially in the types of decks that we've already presented today. So fingers crossed. Let me know what you guys think. Am I missing a major synergy here? If so, let me know down in the comments. Oh, and I'm just going to end you with 2 words. Pokemon Pocket. Cheers.